Welcome, in front of me is a REALME 6S, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a brief overview of the device. So starting off, this is the box that it comes in. As you can see, just a typical thing, nothing out of the ordinary here. Some specifications on the bottom, which we'll go over soon enough. On the bottom there's nothing here, just a flimsy box. Then paperwork along with a cover, which that's nice. I'm gonna set up this side and we're gonna come back to it soon. And well, a booklet with instructions that no one really cares about, and no one cares about this either. From there we got the phone itself, so let's pop it open. Now I'll mention I already have set up the device, as you can see right here, so I have a little bit of the knowledge about it. Then under here, just a piece of paper, the cable for charging, type A to type C with this yellow coating. As you can see, the same color as all the box and everything. And then the power brick. There we go. Also branded REALME right here. And the power brick is a 30-watt brick, so a fairly decent one. Especially for the price of this device, I'm really surprised that they gave you such a charger. Let's set that to the side and then get the phone right over here. And here we have the case, so I'm gonna quickly just pop it in here to see how it looks like. I'm struggling a little bit of actually putting it in there. There we go, one side, there we go, the other. So as you can see, that's how it looks like with the case on. It's a clear one, so you can still see the back of the device. Also, you can see way more smudges on it. And apart from that, on the front, you have a fairly substantial now lip, as you can see, where previously it was not there. This is just so you can place the phone on the screen and it won't get scratched. The case will protect it from that, but if you don't like it, if you prefer a phone that has way more minimalistic casing, for instance something like I have, as you can see right here, where it's basically non-existent, then this is most certainly not the case for you. And it does kind of stick there really well. Just take it off. Okay, so I'm gonna set it to the side, and now we can go to the main part of the showcase right here, which is the overview of the device. And this is kind of annoying. It tries to scan for my finger and not for my face, and because it's not my face that is added here, it does this fail, which when you're trying to log in or put the pattern, it blinks red. You cannot actually put it in, so you have to wait. Not the best design here, I would have to say. Okay, so now going to the specifications. The display is a 6.5-inch display with a resolution of 1080p by 2400, so just a typical display, and also it's an LCD, so you're not getting any kind of like super deep blacks like you get with an OLED or Super AMOLED. But then I will probably start off by saying this at the front, this is a device for roughly $200 or euros, and for the price that it costs, it's an outstanding device. So that being said, we can now proceed and keep that in mind at the price of this device. So you get an LCD, which is fairly good. Also, something that I was surprised with is it has a 90 Hz refresh rate. So if we go into the settings, you will be actually able to see that. You have two different refresh rates that you can choose from. There we go, screen refresh rate. So you have 90 and 60. I have the auto select, which we'll just choose, I believe, based on battery. I would just stick with the 90. The smoothness that you get from all the device is way better. than 60, so everything looks more fluid and the device feels a little bit more premium, I have to say, because of this. And also, moving back to the display, the screen to body ratio, if anybody cares, it's a 84.1%. Nothing really groundbreaking right here. It's just kind of like a standard screen to body ratio for displays with the hole punched camera. Honestly, it looks decent. As you can see, there's the hole punched camera, and that's the bezel. Now you do have a fairly bigger bezel at the bottom, as you can see right over here. Right here. So you do have a bigger bezel at the bottom than at the top. Okay, so moving on, we can go to the cameras, which, let me quickly flip the device onto the back. So you have a quadruple camera setup at the back, and the main sensor is a 48 megapixel wide sensor. Then you have a 8 megapixel ultra wide, and then 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth one. And all of that can shoot at either 4K 30 frames or 1080p 30, 60, and also slow motion at 120. So the cameras are actually fairly good part of here, especially that they can record on a budget device, I would say, for 200 euros at 4K 30, or probably would have been better at 60, but then you do get a 1080p 60 and even slow motion. I don't want to install this, so be gone. There we go. Now we can quickly get a look on how it's doing with actually capturing photos. So I'm gonna pop this little figure right here and just snap a couple of photos of it and see how well it did with capturing detail on it. Now I'm gonna be using for this the automatic setup, so I won't be tweaking any kind of pro modes. So you can get basically an idea on how it performs just when you whip it out of your phone without any preparation. Just snap photos. And let's see, do I have to go? Okay, there's the macro lens. Let's see how it went. So this is the macro lens, and let's just put it on the stand. So you can see a little bit of the detail of the red hat, which is, from what I've seen, the problem that a lot of the phones have with capturing just the red area right here, and just for the most part it makes it a little bit of a blurry mess. But in here you can actually, in the macro, you can see a little bit of a detail in there. It's nothing really mind-blowing, but then it's still better than some other devices that I have tried in recent timing. So that was the macro, and that is the normal, I believe. So you can also see some texture in there, so this does way better job than I actually expected it to. So at least for the normal camera, this did a fairly decent job. Just see once more, just to be sure that it wasn't capturing with the macro. So I'm gonna go over all the lenses in a way. So I'm gonna start with the normal one, then this is gonna be the ultra wide, then 2x zoom, and let's switch to macro for some reason. So this is the 5x. Now this probably won't be the best example of the camera, considering I'm just capturing a single object. So this is the 5x. So you can see it kind of gets blurry, but then it is zoomed in quite a lot. This is the default size of the 5x zoom. Then I'm gonna go here, that's the 2x zoom. So you can see that it already loses some detail in the photo. Then let's go, I believe that was the macro that got captured. And this actually did a fairly good job. As you can see, there's like dirt visible right here, or just like the paint not being too good, which is barely visible when I'm looking at it. You can see just like the cracks in the paint and, well, bits missing. Let's go further. So that was the ultra wide. Looks like the worst out of them all, actually. So this just looks like a blurry mess. And I believe this was the normal one, although it did not, I think, focus on it well. So yeah, that's basically the camera right here, and different cameras that you have the choice between, so like the macro, ultra wide, and all those. Now let's also get a quick view of the video. So let me just quickly check what the settings are, and we're right now at 1080p 30s. Yeah, let's go to 60 right here. Okay, so I'm gonna try the 60 right here. I'm gonna just kind of skim around the office right here, get a movement going so you can see how well it does with 60 frames and also stabilization. So that's set. Now I'm gonna pop it up here and just get a quick panning shot. Once it actually catches the focus, there we go. Okay, so this will be the 1080p at 60. Let me just mute it so there is no sound going off of it. So I have to say, when it comes down to recording, it has a couple problems that I can see right now. Now I assume they could be addressed with an update, which, as you've seen, there was one waiting. But as you've seen, there was some like light flickering, and at the beginning it does stutter a bit, so it's not as smooth as it should be, in my opinion. And not for a 60 frame footage, it lags at the beginning, loses frames, and it just looks kind of jaggedy. And let's quickly go to the 4K. I'm gonna basically do the same thing right here, although I don't have the choice of going with 60, so I only have the 30 frame. So that being said, right now let's again do the same thing. And let's look at that. So this looks honestly atrocious. I wouldn't really use that the 4K footage. It becomes blurry when you move the camera, and overall it's not smooth. Doesn't keep the 30 frames as you've seen right here, hopefully. Okay, so moving out of the camera, as we already checked out majority of this. Going back to the specs, so like we said, we had the 48 megapixel camera as a main shooter. Then we have 4 gigabytes of built-in RAM with a Helios G90T. And the phone comes with only one variant of storage, so you have 64 gigabytes, which is also expandable via SD card if you wanted to have more. And the storage itself has a UFS 2.1. So it will be a little bit faster than a typical flash drive, but it's not gonna be as fast, for instance, like the newer devices that come with the storage 3.0. This is basically half of that speed. So you're gonna lose a little bit of transfer, read and write speeds. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're not planning to really do any kind of like heavy work on it, for instance, with saving stuff and editing, for instance, videos or stuff like that, and also when you're taking a really high quality, for instance, video, it gets saved. Now with the faster storage, it gets saved and processed quicker. With the slower one, well, it's gonna take a little bit longer. So that will be the difference in it. Now, if you're not too concerned about, I don't know, losing a second more or two while doing such a task, then I guess this point doesn't really apply to you. To all the other people that want to save as much time as they can and want the bang for the buck, the UFS 2.1 is slower than 3, which majority of devices now, at least the higher budget ones, starting to use. But then going back, this is not really a higher budget device. This is 200 euros. So I would say that's kind of like mid-range to a almost budget standard. And apart from that, you also have a 4300 milliamp hour battery, so a fairly decent battery here, especially for that power brick that does fast charging at 30 watts. And it's advertised that it will charge your device from 0 to 100% in 55 minutes, so that is a really nice time to charge. And it's a fairly, honestly, respectable charger and charging speed for, well, the price, like I said before, for this device. Then, moving on to a couple other small things, just the overview of the device. As you can see, there's also the camera in the front. Now, I'm not really going to be testing anything from the front. It does do the face unlock, as you can see that it's trying to scan my face. So it's used for that, and it's a 16 megapixel wide sensor that can shoot at 1080p 30 frames. So just for those people that like to use their selfie cams. And apart from the face unlock with the front camera, you also have a fingerprint sensor, which is doubled as a power key on the side, right over here, as you can see. So that is also a fingerprint. Now it is not set up right now, so it doesn't really unlock, but normally if you press your thumb, it would automatically unlock with it when you press it. And also you have the volume rockers on the left side right here, along with what's called the SIM tray, along with the SD tray. And then just like I said, on the right side you have the fingerprint sensor, and then at the bottom, you actually didn't know, you have a headphone jack. Now there is no headphones provided, so you will have to have your own, but it's really nice to actually have the headphone jack included in a mid-range to low-range budget device, I would say. And then again you have the Type-C charger, which is really good. I hate the devices that still pop the old charging port on like 2020 devices. It's just kind of funny that they still use those. This, in my opinion, just became a new standard a while ago, and every device should have it. So if you're looking at other devices that have this, just don't. And then you also have the microphones and speaker grills, and at the top, nothing. And also you have the recessed headphone or earpiece right here, which is barely visible. It's going along the frame right here, just the plastic cuts out that is going around the glass and makes the earpiece. And at the bottom you don't have anything apart from the nut and the chin of the device. And yeah, now also if I flip it around, you will see the color of it. Make sure you paid attention to it. So this is the Eclipse Black, and there is also Lunar White. You only have two choices of colors, and this is the black one. Now I don't have the other one to show you how the white one looks like, but I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere else, the images of the white one. And yeah, so to conclude this video, the Realme 6S is a really good budget option. For 200 euros, at least I consider it a semi-budget option. A little bit to like a mid-range, and the specs are really good. The device works outstandingly. The cameras were surprisingly well to me, actually. I expected a bit poor quality out of it, but it did surprise me that it was still taking a decent photos right here, at least in the setup that I have right now. I did not go out and capture any extensive photos, like photo shoots, to get a full idea of how well it works, but for just this purpose that I did right here that you could see, it did really respectable job here. And apart from that, you also get the case, which is a plus in my book, and a device that adds you a case for your device along with it. I just kind of respect that. And yeah, it's a really good device. If you're looking for in this range phone of like 200 euros, then I would say this is a decent device to go for, and I would recommend it. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.